Hello, world. Welcome to the Shannon Joy Show. Hello, world, and welcome to the Shannon Joy Show. Yes, we made it 20 minutes late, but that is okay. It's so great to be with all of you today. I am Shannon Joy. We're broadcasting live from the Joy Virtual Studio. It is so great to be with all of you. It is Wednesday, September 3rd, and be nice to Wally, okay? It's not him, it's all me. We are juggling so many balls today. You know, it is just like me to launch everything new that we are doing in 1 week, because not only do I apparently enjoy the fire hose in my face of the news cycle every day, but as expanding, platforming. As you guys know, we are platforming now on our new partner site, right on Twitter. Died suddenly. We're bringing in new production. Wally is doing a phenomenal job, and today we're launching our new show with Dr. Mary Talley Bowden. That's right, live today on the Shannon Joy Show at 1:10 p.m. Eastern Time. We are going to be bringing the amazing Dr. Mary Talley Bowden in live for the debut of her brand new weekly show every Wednesday, 1 p.m. to 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time. It is On Call with Dr. Mary Talley Bowden. Today, she has an amazing guest. Dr. Kelly Victory will be with her. Mary and I will co-host for about 20 minutes in the beginning. She'll be answering your questions, engaging with all of you on the Rumble live chat. And so, yeah, it's like a lot. There's a lot going on right now. So thank you so much for being patient with us today. Of course, we have an interview with the amazing Tom Massie as well. Yesterday, as you know, we were able to get an interview with the Congressman Tom Massie. When he calls and offers up an interview, well, we're going to take it. And so we were able to do that yesterday as a pre-record. As you guys know, I've been working on getting Tom Massie on the show. There are a million things that we could talk about, but the most important and the biggest news of the day, I don't know if you guys watched the live press conference. I was riveted this morning. Epstein victims, 10 of them coming out and speaking on Capitol Hill, a bipartisan event hosted by Tom Massie and also Ro Khanna, a Democrat from the state of California, demanding the full release of all the Jeffrey Epstein files. They are working on a discharge petition, and Representative Tom Massie. So yeah, I just like to dump everything on my lap on the same day. That's just how we do it here on the Shannon Joy Show. Bubble wrap that man, says CJP Rumble. I was editing and watching the interview with my husband, devastatingly handsome Dr. Joy, last night. And he's not super political, but he was absolutely riveted. And he had the exact same reaction, CJP Rumble. He said, this guy has got to be the bravest man in Washington, D.C., if not the United States of America. And yes, we understand for the Democrats right now, it is not a heavy lift for them to stand up and speak out against this administration, President Donald Trump, and the entirety of the Republican Party, who are trying to keep these files under wrap. That's not a hard lift for Democrats right now, because that is a natural opposition. The truly hard lift right now is for people like Tom Massie. And man, he is the tip of the spear. Huge thank you to Marjorie Taylor Greene, who came on as the first signatory on that discharge petition, along with Nancy Mace and also Lauren Boebert. Where are the men in Washington, D.C.? Well, they are scurrying around in the back rooms trying to put up fake bills that are not the Massie bills to make you think that they're releasing the Epstein files when they are not. You'll understand all of this after you hear this blockbuster interview with Representative Tom Massie. And he does name some names. Enough is enough. This morning, 10:30 a.m., hundreds of Epstein victims traveled to Washington, D.C. to speak at a press conference. They want to remind the nation that their pain and suffering is not a hoax, regardless of what Donald Trump and the Republican leadership are saying. It is estimated, as I mentioned, that over 100 victims were in attendance, along with the 10 who stood up and spoke out. Today, we are featuring an exclusive interview with Congressman Tom Massie on his decision to go it alone once again in leadership on behalf of these Epstein survivors. His mission is to pass a law compelling the full release of the Epstein Files, and he believes that he can do it. This was an unbelievable press conference, and I will say, first and foremost, the bipartisan nature of it. Usually, bipartisanship in Washington, D.C. means the elite, the powerful class will go into a room with their lobbyists and billionaires and do things to the detriment of the Constitution of the United States, truth and justice in the American people. That has been bipartisanship in the United States of America for the past 10 years. What we saw today on the steps of the Capitol was actual bipartisanship. And Marjorie Taylor Greene nailed it when she said that was the biggest gathering for a press conference she has ever witnessed in her tenure at Washington, D.C. And that is because we, the people, have been lied to about what is going on with this Epstein scandal. And for far too long, there was a story about Jeffrey Epstein that was told to Democrats, and a story about Jeffrey Epstein and his cartel that was told to Republicans. And the American people were never able to come together to demand the absolute truth. This was the first time that this happened. And I think it is a bellwether. I think that it is signaling something new. And Tom Massie alludes to this in the interview that we are going to play for you right now. It is about justice. It is about truth. And none of the people that were on the steps of the Capitol Hill today are in the back rooms in Washington, D.C. right now, making the deals to try to keep this under wrap. They're out there fighting for truth and justice. And so without further ado, I know we have a quick intro here today on the Shannon Joy Show because we started a little bit late, but we got to get to that interview. We're going to run it in just a second. But first, I do want to thank the sponsors of the Shannon Joy Show. And we'll get to all of you in a minute on the live chat. You guys are amazing. You look wonderful. Thank you so much. I see you, CJP Rumble. Thank you. We're thankful for our sponsors over at Rumble and at Perfect Sleep Max from Perfect Origins. If you have trouble sleeping, and I know a lot of us do, given the times that we live in today, you're going to want to try out Perfect Sleep Max from Perfect Origins. It is not just another melatonin pill. It is one that blends relaxation and sleep support from multiple angles. Are you ready? L-theanine, GABA, HTP to promote dopamine and serotonin, melatonin, 2 milligrams to aid in your sleep cycle, magnesium, 200 milligrams. It relaxes muscles and your nervous system, plus philodendron. It's a hard one to say. And it is that the philodendron root for anti-inflammatory comfort. If you're battling stress or restless nights, you got to check out Perfect Sleep. Each dose includes all of those great ingredients in a proprietary blend, and it works. Now, you can get a special 25% off today to try it risk-free, meaning you can send it back at any time, even the empty bottle if you don't like it. But they are amping up the offer for the Shannon Joy Show audience with not only 25% off, also the money back guarantee, and you could qualify for 3 free bottles. They have a giveaway going right now at perfectorigins.com/perfectsleep/SJS. And Wally is going to pop up that URL in the live chat of the Shannon Joy Show right here on Rumble and also in the comments. It's also in the show notes of the Shannon Joy Show as well. So this is your opportunity to potentially get 3 free bottles, but also that 25% discount. So thank you to our friends over at Perfect Sleep Max from Perfect Origins. Now, without further ado, we're going to go to a quick of our sponsors, and we're going to head right in to my interview with Congressman Tom Massie. He is the tip of the spear. And learn everything you need to know about what we need to do to get to the truth regarding the Jeffrey Epstein files and the scandals that we have been unable to get the truth on for so many years. We'll be back in a minute. Welcome back, everyone, to this special segment of the Shannon Joy Show. And this fellow needs no introduction here on the SJ Show, but it is my privilege. The very first time we've been able to welcome the Representative Tom Massie of Kentucky is with us today. Representative Massie, how are you?
Well, I've been kind of busy today, and I appreciate you having me on the show.
Well, once again, it seems as if there are actually a million things that I would love to talk to you about today. I feel like we could have a very long conversation. But we had to do this last minute, and I wanted to make sure that we were able to get you on the record and get as much support for you, and also the Epstein victims, the people who you are representing, also the Democrats who are standing with you in an attempt to release the Epstein documents. We're going to focus on those victims today, and it seems as if you always seem to be the guy who is alone, standing up when everything seems to be falling apart. This Epstein saga has dominated headlines, both left-wing and right-wing news media, for over a decade, particularly on the right wing, where people are very, very concerned with supporting the victims of these type of sex crimes and getting to the bottom, the truth about Epstein and his victims. It was a gut punch just a few weeks ago to have the Department of Justice announce that they were dropping any type of inquiry into this case, that they were going to seal up those documents again after so many promises that they would be released and justice would be pursued. And then tragically, just a few days later, the President of the United States, Donald Trump, saying that this is all a Democratic hoax, which is, for those of us who have covered it for 10 years, just beyond the pale. And it has been very difficult, obviously, for the people who've been trying to get to the bottom of this, but for the victims themselves. And here you are once again stepping in and being a lone voice for those victims. Can you just talk about why you got into this battle and why you are now hosting tomorrow, which will be today when we run this, but a press conference with 10 of these victims, and what you think needs to happen over the next couple days?
Well, one of the laws of physics is that objects at rest tend to stay at rest. And Congress, it's hard to get them to do anything. They follow that law of physics. And so the reason we're having the survivors, some people call them victims, some people call them survivors because they're still here. The reason we're having the survivors speak tomorrow is to raise awareness for this. The president called this a hoax. It's not a hoax. If it were a hoax, there wouldn't be so many victims and survivors of it. If you had one or two people say that something happened, somebody might dismiss it and not believe them. But when you have this many people talking and still talking about it and willing to risk their own personal reputations, then it's not a hoax. So having those survivors here will show that it's not a hoax. And also, it's been said that my legislative effort to release these files could endanger the victims or compromise their privacy. But the reality is, why would they be here advocating for the release of the files if that were true? And obviously, it's not true. So I think having those survivors here and speaking is going to be very powerful. Some of them have never spoken publicly before. They have testified, they have provided evidence, but it got swept under the rug and they weren't given justice. There were deals made where, the perpetrators got off, it seems. It got off lightly. At least Jeffrey Epstein did the first time. And we just, it's hard to motivate anything here in Congress. I think this will be motivating. The funny thing is, people say, well, why did you just bring this up now? Why didn't you do this before? Well, I did talk about this before, And I assumed there were other people in Congress working on this. I assumed when the vice president said that the files would be released, that they would be released. I assumed that when the attorney general said they would be released, that they would be released. But that's not happening. And I realized that the political environment was such that I could probably force a vote on the floor of the House, because with something called a discharge petition, if any member can get 218 signatures, which is half of Congress plus one extra voting member, if you can get over half of Congress to sign a petition, you can bring a bill straight to the floor. And so that's what I'm doing, bringing a binding bill to the floor if I can get 218 signatures. And politically, because Trump has done a 180 on this and is running away from it, and the administration is running away from it, some Democrats are motivated out of politics to sign this. Some Democrats, like my co-sponsor Ro Khanna, are genuinely caring about the victims and want to see justice. I don't care why they will sign the discharge petition, but if they will sign the discharge petition, and if I can get just 5 other Republicans besides myself to care about this issue and sign the discharge petition, we can force binding legislation to pass the House.
And when that happens, that will force the release of all relevant documents, right? So we are looking at, all of the unclassified records, documents, communications, investigative materials related to Epstein and his associate, Ghislaine Maxwell. Some are saying that this will put in danger some of the victims in the files, that it would expose child victims that might be contained in the files. I saw that as one of the criticisms. What would you say to people who are saying that that is an issue here?
Well, our legislation specifically says not to release anything that would cause a victim to be identified, an unidentified victim, for instance, or compromise their privacy. And also, we have the victims here in Washington, D.C., the survivors, testifying publicly. And if they're willing to put their reputations on, the line and do that, then they're convinced that our legislation is sound and won't cause, them any harm.
The speculation is that these files are being held back, that they are not being released because they could potentially compromise people in positions of power in Washington, D.C., in politics in general, and that even potentially Trump himself or associates close to Trump could be implicated. In your mind, what possibly could be the motivation for people like Dan Bongino and Kash Patel and Pam Bondi, who have spoken so forcefully over the past 4, 5, 6 years about releasing these documents and getting to the truth and bringing the perpetrators to justice? Because the reality is that, Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine, they arranged for, meetings between children or young women and men, right? People who were engaging in criminal acts. And so, what do you think could be the motivation behind? What do you think is in these documents that could be so explosive that they are so afraid or unable to release them, to do this 180? It's mind-boggling how quickly they have switched sides on this.
Well, I can't speak to the motivation of the 3 individuals who work for Trump who've changed their positions, or so it seems, but they work for Trump, and that's the answer. Like when the president changed his position, they had to change their position. They were probably faced with either changing their position or getting fired. And so I don't know exactly what the dynamics are inside the White House, but I can tell you this: members of the legislature, contrary to popular opinion, do not work for the president. We are an independent branch of government. And so I don't have to change my position because the president changed his position. My position is the same. Now, what is the president's motivation? Well, some have speculated that he would be indicted by these files. I actually don't think that's the case. There may be some small amount of embarrassment there in these documents, but I don't think he engaged in anything criminal. I do believe that there are some very rich and powerful people who could be implicated in these files, and they are donors to the Republican Party. In fact, I have 3 billionaires right now who formed a super PAC to run ads against me in Kentucky. They've spent over $2 million already trying to smear my name. And one of those billionaires is in Epstein's Black Book. So is that a coincidence? Or are there just not that many billionaires who are rich and powerful and upset that I'm trying to release these files? So it is rich and powerful people. I also do believe that because he was connected to so many rich and powerful people, Epstein, and because of other associations he had and things that were said in legal documents by Acosta, for instance, many years ago, I believe that there's a connection not just to Israeli intelligence from Epstein, but also to U.S. intelligence. And the American public, if they found out that our government engages in illegal activity to try to get material or information from either our own citizens or citizens of other countries, I think that would be very upsetting to the American people. So I think those are two things they're trying to hide. They're trying to protect the rich, powerful, and politically connected people who would be implicated in these files. And then they are trying to keep secret the connections to our intelligence agencies and other intelligence agencies overseas.
That's another huge thread, is the honeypot angle, that Jeffrey Epstein at the very core of this was, among other things, a honey trap kind of situation where he would lure powerful people into his lair and, provide them with whatever it was that they wanted, and then create documentation of that, and then use that information to blackmail or use coercive measures with very high profile, powerful politicians, judges, billionaires, donors, politically connected people. And there is a question about, well, was this U.S. intelligence or the Israeli intelligence? Because there's also the theme that he was very connected to Israeli intelligence. I don't know if there's a difference between the two, or which one controls the other one, or how. But I mean, I don't know. But
well, let me also say it doesn't have to be blackmail. I
right.
mean, a drug dealer doesn't blackmail you. That would put him out of business. A drug dealer trades you something for your money.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I mean, it just could simply be prostitution, for instance, but you get information and then you get favors. And it wouldn't even have to be an adversarial situation where it was blackmail. It could be, I'm doing you a favor. I'm providing you with these, these encounters with attractive women that you otherwise would never meet. And in exchange, I need you to do me a favor. I'm not alleging that there was blackmail involved even, and you don't have to know that the rich and powerful people, when they get connected and they start trading favors, that things can, you have conflicts of interest and whatnot. I wouldn't even say it has to be blackmail.
I think that one of the reasons this is such an extraordinary moment in American history is that, this Epstein saga covers Democrats and Republicans. It spans both political parties. It impacts, different agencies of the federal government, particularly intelligence. And it also, as you mentioned, filters out into the donors and the politically powerful here in the US. Is that why you think? I mean, I don't think I have ever seen a case that has been so drawn out, so protected. I mean, just going back to the Miami Herald reporting in the original case with Jeffrey Epstein, and the dream team that was flown down, Alan Dershowitz and Ken Starr, right? Alan Dershowitz is the Democrat attorney, Ken Starr is the Republican attorney. I mean, you could see the elements of it, over a decade ago when all of this began. Jeffrey Epstein was lost as a witness, if you want to call it that, under the first Trump administration and Donald Barr. Like, there's just so much there. Have you ever seen a case that has been so smothered by the establishment, both in Democrat and Republican parties, but also the media and the donor class as well? It's just extraordinary.
Yeah, let me speak to that. You asked what were the motivations of the administration. Well, I'd like to talk about what are the possible motivations of the Speaker of the House for trying to prevent this vote from ever occurring.
Mm.
One of the billionaires who's running millions of dollars of ads against me back in Kentucky right now is a max donor to the Speaker of the House, and also a big contributor to the NRCC, which is the National Republican Congressional Committee,
Wow.
which helps the leadership here in Washington, D.C. get members elected who are Republicans so that we can keep the majority. And his name is John Paulson, by the way. There's only
Okay.
three of these billionaires. Miriam
Go
Adelson,
for it.
Miriam Adelson, who's the heiress, or I'm sorry, widow of Sheldon Adelson, the casino mogul who made their money on gambling, and probably broke a lot of lives,
Yeah.
fortunes in the process. And then the other two are hedge fund managers. One is Paul Singer, who has donated to trans activist projects. He says he's a Republican, but he's given to Democrats. And then you have John Paulson, who did a fundraiser for Chuck Schumer. He claims to be a Republican. He's the one who's in the black book that is public, Epstein's black book.
Wow.
And these are all major, major donors to the Speaker of the House and the Republican cause here, which makes it hard for me to get co-sponsors. By the way, the White House right now is whipping. They're calling up members and asking them and texting them to not co-sponsor this legislation. And in fact, just today, Speaker Johnson introduced competing legislation to mine, and he lifted, completely copied, plagiarized. It's actually very flattering that the Speaker of the House would take 3 pages of my legislation and put them into his legislation. But what he's done is create a placebo, because his language is slightly different than my language. Number one, his is a resolution, not a bill, so
Okay.
it can't be legally binding on the administration. Instead of demanding or compelling the documents from the DOJ and Treasury and the banks, it says it encourages.
Oh,
He uses the word encourage. We encourage them to comply with these requests from the Oversight Committee. And then in the Speaker's resolution, he requires all of the documents that I require to be released, except he doesn't require it of the DOJ or the banks or anybody. He requires it of the Oversight Committee, any documents that they might have in their possession. Well, the only documents the Oversight Committee is going to have in their possession are the ones that they're able to get from the DOJ and maybe a few other sources. But the Oversight Committee right now is conducting an investigation and issuing subpoenas
yeah.
for people to come and testify. But Shannon, don't be mistaken. Don't let your visitors be mistaken. The purpose of the oversight investigation, it's even titled this, I don't know the exact title, but it's an investigation into the investigation of Epstein.
Okay.
All they're doing is checking the homework of the investigators. They're saying, did you act ethically? Should you have done this plea bargain? Did you check all the boxes on this form? There will be no criminal referrals from the Oversight Committee for pedophiles or sex traffickers. There might be a slap on the wrist for somebody at the DOJ or the FBI because they didn't follow some kind of protocol there. That's all that's going to come out of the Oversight Committee. And so the resolution that Mike Johnson is putting on the floor it's toothless, even though it's copied 3 pages of it directly from my legally binding legislation. His is toothless, and it just says, oh, the Oversight Committee can continue to do the investigation they're already doing. And he's hoping that will give political cover to members of Congress. So you have 2 things going on here simultaneously. The Speaker of the House is giving political cover to people so that if they don't support the true, real release of the Epstein resolution, they can still go home and say they voted on something. Meanwhile, the White House is whipping Republican members of Congress and telling them to stay off of the true form of the legislation.
That is a dirty, dirty trick. So if it's not Massie's bill, then it's
right.
not real. Okay. That's what you need to understand, that if it was, and we're talking about, this is bipartisan legislation. It's a discharge position. Tom Massie, along with Representative Ro Khanna, Democrat out of California. And this is to introduce the Epstein Files Transparency Act. Am I correct? EFTA.
Yes, correct.
And this is to force, not beg, not ask nicely with a pretty please and a cherry on top, but to force the House to vote on releasing all unclassified records, documents, communications, and investigative materials related to Epstein and his associate, Ghislaine Maxwell. So right now, Speaker Johnson is putting up a dummy bill, a fake bill, so that...
This is, by the way, Shannon, this is the oldest trick in the book. If you've got anybody that's ever worked in a state legislature or even in a city council meeting, the best way to kill something, if you can't get enough votes to kill it, is to introduce a fake version of it, because then it takes the appetite away for the real thing, and it gives political cover to the people who don't vote for the real version. We've seen this.
So disgusting.
We've seen this with Second Amendment issues, like if you're trying to get constitutional carry passed or something, somebody will introduce a fake one, and it's the oldest trick in the book.
So you have lost some of your Republican friends, but you're making new friends over on the Democrats.
I wouldn't call them friends. I'm not sure. I might have maybe 12 real friends up here out of 435.
Yeah.
People that I'd want to go have a beer with after I'm no longer in Congress.
Well, and that's why everyone loves you so much, though. This is why you have secured a spot, hopefully, likely in American history, as the guy who stands up and does the right thing when no one else will do it. And you say the things that no one else want to say. And you're now, working with a Democrat. What has that been like? What does Ro Khanna have to say about this? And how has that been kind of whipping the other side on, to pursue truth and justice in the American?
I'm glad you asked that. It's impossible for a partisan to work with a partisan, okay, unless they're working behind the scenes in a uniparty fashion.
Right.
Okay.
I know about that.
I think it's a term of endearment when somebody calls me an ideologue. I am not, and I used to think, before I came to Congress, I used to think when somebody was a partisan that they were also an ideologue, or when they were an ideologue, they were also a partisan. No, those are actually opposite terms. A partisan comes to Washington, D.C. and does whatever the party tells them to do. They hand over their voting card on the first day to the Speaker of the House and just put it in neutral, and they get their marching orders from the whip team, and they are all about red team or blue team. Mm-hmm. They put that jersey on, and that's what they do. They forget that their bosses are 750,000 people back in their congressional district.
Right.
And that's their mode of operation. Now, an ideologue, and I'm not the only ideologue up here, they come up here with ideas. And, I think we should have smaller government. That's an ideology, right? Bigger government or smaller government, right? More regulation or less regulation. That's kind of free speech. That's ideology. Second Amendment. That's ideology. So I am an unashamed ideologue. I take no offense if somebody calls me that. Now, the reason I explain all that is because on the other side of the aisle, you need to discern from ideologues and partisans. Mm-hmm. And I would call Ro Khanna an ideologue. Now, he may not like me to call him that.
Right.
But I do believe that he sticks with his convictions, even when his party goes the wrong way. I have worked with Ro Khanna on war powers resolutions, for instance, to try to end wars, to try to stop wars from starting. And you can find common ground on the other side of the aisle, but not if they're partisans and report to duty with, marching orders from Hakeem Jeffries or Nancy Pelosi. Ro Khanna doesn't do that. So it's actually been very good working with him. He's very good on the networks and TV because he has gained credibility by just being Ro Khanna instead of being a total full-blown Democrat partisan.
Hmm. Have any of the Republicans who are considering joining you, you only need a few. You said 5
Mm-hmm.
Republicans to join. Have you had any feedback from anyone publicly coming on to support you that we want to give credit to? And what we would like to do is like give as much support as humanly possible to these people who are taking a big risk, standing up, speaking out, especially from the Republican Party, because the apparatus is trying to smash it down. But any support from any of your fellow Republicans in the House?
Yep, the biggest supporter so far is not surprisingly a woman, and it's Marjorie Taylor Greene. And
Awesome.
she has co-sponsored the legislation, fully intends to sign the discharge petition, and will probably, in fact, be at the press conference with the survivors.
Okay.
So she's been, I think, my biggest ally in this. That leaves 10 other co-sponsors of this legislation. Now, they stepped out early before the August recess, and by sticking their heads up out of the foxholes, for these victims and for what's right, they've been attacked
Okay.
behind the scenes. You're not going to see it, but behind the scenes, they're undergoing tremendous pressure from the White House to not follow through and sign the actual discharge petition, even though they have co-sponsored the legislation. Some of them are being told, don't sign the document that causes this legislation to come to the floor. They're under tremendous pressure. I won't go through the list of them.
Right.
Some of them probably will weather that storm and sign the document. Besides Marjorie and myself, I need 4 more out
Okay.
of those, let's see, 12, 11, 9 that remain,
Yeah.
or 10 that remain. 4 of the 10 that remain after Marjorie and I need to be able to sign this. And we may get people who haven't co-sponsored the legislation that will sign the discharge petition. That's not uncommon with discharge petitions. So if you've got a congressman, call them up. If they're a Democrat, they're probably already, on the right side of this.
Right.
Maybe not for the same reason you're on the right side of this. But call them up if they've signed the discharge petition. Thank them for doing it. If they've co-sponsored the legislation, thank them for co-sponsoring it. Ask them to go ahead and sign it now that it's ripened and it's sitting there in the well of the House right there. There's a document. I was the first signer on it. It's a big page with everybody's name on it, and all you got to do is sign your name down there next to your printed name, and you'll be on this discharge petition. When we get to 218, we'll have the vote.
Unbelievable. Thank you so much for everything that you have done. And yes, the call to action here today, guys, is to call your representatives and ask them about their position on the Massey legislation. So if it's not Massey's, it's not real, not the fake Mike Johnson legislation, but this is EFTA. It is the Epstein Files Transparency Act. I got that right?
Yes.
Okay, so that's what you need to do. Find out what their position is and hold them to it. Tell them what you want them to do. At the very least, we need transparency. Come on, guys. After a decade of all of this, are we really going to buy this rug pull that it's just a hoax? The Democrats came up with it, and that there's no there, especially when we have these victims, very brave victims who are willing to stand up and speak out and put their reputation, their names on the line. This is an act of great courage by these survivors and victims, their attorneys, the people supporting them, and also the legislators who are sticking their necks out and risking a lot of political, fire for standing up in this way. What would you like to see come out of this? If we're
Yeah.
able to push this, what would be just in your opinion?
Well, let me tell you about the disappointment we've had and the disappointment we're probably going to have. And then I'll tell you about what I hope comes out of my legislation. We
Okay.
had one disappointment when the Attorney General gave out binders to social media influencers, and they all got home and found out there was nothing new in the binder, probably not even one new word.
Horrible.
And then we were told that there would be more binders, but they didn't come out. That we certainly don't want that to happen, but I think that's actually going to happen again, not at the Attorney General's office, but in the House Oversight Committee.
Hmm.
I appreciate the work that they're doing. They're basically going in and saying, did the DOJ do its job properly? But they're not looking for co-conspirators or associates of Epstein who were part of this sex trafficking ring. That's not the goal of their investigation. So when they finish up their investigation and publish their findings, and they recommend a slap on the wrist for some people at DOJ who didn't check the right box, but they don't produce any new perpetrators, they don't give any more referrals, criminal referrals to the DOJ. When that doesn't happen, I think people are going to be just as upset as
Right.
they were with the binders.
Hmm.
So every time you do something fake, you eventually get found out. Now, in this case, what they're doing isn't fake, but it's meant to be a substitute, but it's not a satisfactory substitute for what needs to happen, which is a full release. Should I get the 218 signatures, this will come to the floor for a vote. Today, Mike Johnson, in a media report, I didn't hear him say this specifically to me. Actually, it wasn't Mike Johnson. I'm sorry. It was the chair of the Rules Committee who
Okay.
kind of works for Mike Johnson. The Rules Committee is called the Speakers Committee. I was on it for 2 years. They have the power to change the rules to stop me. But it would be very obvious if they did that, and they would have to get 218 votes to do that, and they would probably get a lot of public backlash. But we just heard today from the chairwoman of the Rules Committee that they're not going to try to stop me from getting this bill to the floor if I do get 218 votes. When it comes to the floor, I think this could be an overwhelming vote. Like, I think we might get more than 2/3 majority
Wow.
for it, because which member of Congress wants to be on record for not releasing the Epstein files?
Right.
That's at the end of the day, most of my colleagues just don't want to vote.
Hmm.
And here's why they don't want to vote, because it puts them, they have to choose between the president's current public position, which is that it's a hoax, or the 80 to 90% of their constituents who want justice and transparency.
Right.
And as long as they don't vote, they don't have to express a preference. So they don't want to vote. But I think if they're forced to vote, I think most of them will do the right thing. At that point, in order for this to be fully legally binding, it has to pass the Senate as well.
Okay.
So we need a big vote in the House so that we can pass it in the Senate. This is not, that my bill is not a subpoena. It's a law. Like, it's above a subpoena.
Right. Good.
Like, it's the law. Like, you will be breaking the law if you don't comply with this bill when it passes. But in order for that to happen, it has to pass the Senate. And I think we'll have enough momentum coming out of the House to get it past the Senate. I think we can get 2/3 votes in both chambers.
That's
So
extraordinary. That's extraordinary. And then we can really look at some of the perpetrators of these crimes. We can look at criminal indictments. We can look at actual prosecution,
correct.
even civil actions for some of the victims. I mean, this would open the door to everything, correct?
Correct. That
Yeah.
is correct. And then that is what can happen, but it can't happen as long as that's all swept under the rug. And let me tell you something else, Shannon. I've been home for August recess, and I've been out, I met with people, met with individually and with groups of people. They all care about the Epstein issue, but they care more about debt, inflation, the
Yeah.
economy, their civil rights like freedom of speech, freedom to carry a firearm. Those things are always important to them and will always be important to them. But what I tell folks is, if we can't expose the corruption of this underage sex trafficking ring.
Yeah.
If Republicans can't bring themselves to do that, how do you think they're going to find waste in the budget when it's their buddies who are the benefactors of the waste? Like, this gets to the root of the problem in Washington, D.C., and we have to be able to expose this if we're going to go on to all the other problems.
I think that the sunlight and transparency is absolutely critical to getting those things that you just mentioned done, right? Because
Yeah.
I think what I'm understanding from you is that the donor class has an extraordinary amount of power, and they enjoy operating in the shadows, but they also might be
In the
involved.
shower too, maybe.
Gross. I don't even
You
want to think
said it.
about that. I said
I thought you
it.
said it. The shadowies and the showers.
I mean, yeah, I mean, these guys, they have strange proclivities, we'll say that. But listen, but it's like this dirty underbelly. It's like this black cloud that hangs over Washington, D.C., that is behind everything. Every good thing that could happen in D.C. is torpedoed, it's taken down, it's pulled apart. And it just seems like we've got to kind of get through this thing for whatever reason. It's the Epstein scandal. This is the thing that we have to get through, that we have to get to the truth to, no matter where it leads us, and not be afraid of that, in order to get rid of some of the more malevolent and, I would say, dark forces in Washington, D.C. that
Yeah.
just
The USAID money, I mean,
right.
it's the same circle of people
Yeah.
that are benefiting from this. You know, heads of corporations. Here's another thing that this bill does. This is a litmus test. If you're going to figure out who to vote for in the next election, and I'm talking about primaries, maybe even general elections, but mostly primaries. People come up to me when I'm in different states and they want to ask me about their congressman. Do I have a good congressman? What do you think of my congressman? And I just tell them, go look at their voting record. Don't take my word for it. Even if I told you what I thought, you would need to go check their voting record. This is a litmus test. As your congressman, do they have the stomach for this job? Are they willing, even when it's politically unpopular and they're being threatened by their donors and they're being threatened by pressure from the administration, will they still do the right thing or not? This is a litmus test. Look at who votes for this. Look at the people who sign this. Anybody who signs my discharge petition who's a Republican, that's a brave person. And then when it comes up for a vote, those are also brave people, maybe at the next level down. But anybody who doesn't make at least one of those two lists is suspect.
Absolutely. And I'll tell you what, if these women can stand up in front of this nation and give their testimony about what they experienced at the hands of some of these monsters, Jeffrey Epstein, Ghislaine Maxwell, and any of the Johns that are in these files, if they are brave enough to do this, then it should be a no-brainer that our elected officials, you know, should also be brave enough to do this as well. This is just to open the files. That's it. That's it.
Yeah. I hope, I mean, they're traveling distances to come here.
Yeah.
Some of them they're not public speakers. Some of them gave their testimony and their evidence to investigators and were, never heard from again. If they're willing to go through all of this, then I hope it's not in vain. And I hope my colleagues will listen to their pleas. I hope the Speaker of the House will allow this to come to a vote. And it would be nice if the White House would just do the right thing, but it's going to take pressure from another branch of government, and we are that branch of government.
Tom Massie, thank you so much. Once again, the only guy, at least on the Republican side, standing up for the truth, but along with a few others. We want to give some props, obviously, to Marjorie Taylor Greene and the 12 others who initiated this with you. So huge thank you to them. And we'll be keeping an eye on this as we move forward. But God bless you for everything that you're doing. And we will be supporting you. We will be here loudly supporting your efforts, and anything you need, you just let us know, okay?
Thank you very much, Shannon.
All right. Thank you guys. We'll be back in a moment to discuss this and more right here on the Shannon Joy Show. All of the Native Path products are simply amazing. In the Joy household, we use the Hydrate. We use the Native Path Complete Protein. We use, obviously, the Native Path Collagen, which is right now on sale, 45% off if you go to getnativepathcollagen.com/joy. And that's a limited time, but it is the cleanest, the best, the highest quality collagen on the market at the absolute lowest price point. This is why I love their products. In fact, devastatingly handsome Dr. Joy the other night, he uses everything, but every so often, if he plays volleyball, he will cramp up, or if he's doing some type of strenuous activity, he'll get these cramps. It's not very often, but middle of the night last week, I'm like in the bed next to him. All of a sudden, he's like, oh my gosh, like screaming, yelling, like stiff as his board. His feet are out like completely straight. And apparently both of his legs cramped up. So I'm like, oh my gosh, like trying to like get him up and turn him around in the bed because he can't like bend his legs. And he goes to me, he goes, get me the Native Path Hydrate now. Get me the Native Path Hydrate, because it has the electrolytes in it. And so like I'm running downstairs and I'm mixing it up and I bring it up to him and it took care of it. But like that's how dependent the whole family is. My son has an entire box full of all of the stuff he's bringing back to college, and he wants to get his volleyball team on it because they're just great products. They deliver, they're clean, and the price points are absolutely perfect. So we love the team over at Native Path. Please go to their website, getnativepathcollagen.com right now. We know what collagen does for your hair, your nails, your skin, your joints. It addresses joint pain. And we know that as we age, we lose a lot of the production of collagen in our body. So this is why I use Native Path Collagen every single day in my coffee. Doesn't help with cramping, but they have the Hydrate for that. Getnativepathcollagen.com/joy. Huge thank you to our friends over at Colonial Metals Group. Again, when I say it's super easy, super easy. The staff is amazing. In fact, I just did my allocation with my representative over at Colonial Metals Group over the weekend. We allocated, I have a gold and silver backed IRA through Colonial Metals Group. And I learned so much. There are so many different ways for you to back your investments with physical gold and silver. But I mean, literally, like when you have the gold backed IRA, you pick whether you want the bars or the coins. Like there are a lot of different mixes. You can do 70-30 gold to silver, 100% gold, 100% silver, 50-50. The mix is, based on whatever you feel comfortable with. And then literally that order, like that physical gold and silver is sent, Colonial Metals Group procures it, and it is sent to a depository. My depository is in Delaware, and it sits there. It is not paper gold. It is not paper silver. This is the real deal. And it gives you the benefits of the IRA and the tax benefits that you can receive from an IRA without having to be connected to or linked to Wall Street or the stock market or even the federal government, right? Because a lot of people's pensions and IRAs and 401ks are invested in some of these institutions that many people rightly see are crumbling. This pulls you out. You're going analog completely. And I trust the folks over at Colonial Metals Group. So colonialmetalsgroup.com/joy is the URL. Please tell them that Shannon Joy sent you, because that's how they know that you came from this show, and they're just great. So thank you to Colonial. Again, always learning so much. Blackout, brownout, natural disaster, alien invasion, government created disaster, you name it. If you are prepared, then you will not be afraid. And it is only when we are afraid that we are vulnerable to the manipulation and the coercion of this hostile government. And so one of the things that I encourage to this audience and for this audience is to be prepared. Satellite Phone Store has everything you need, from solar panels to generators to Faraday technologies that will protect your devices from a potential EMP attack and also protect you from EMF radiation from the 5G, the 4G, the 3G, and all of the Gs, right? They have everything you need for communication, so many different satellite, phone, packages for all of your needs. They have great monthly plans. And if you use the promo code JOY, you will get 10% off your annual fee and a free satellite phone. So go to sat123.com/joy today. That is sat123.com/joy today. Use that promo code JOY for all of your purchases. It's always going to get you that nice, robust 10% off.
This is Don Polano with PCM Associates. There's a saying that says a broken clock shows the correct time twice a day. This is not how you want to invest your long-term funds by being right for a short period of time. The Argentina market was the best performing market in 2024, up 117%. Does this make it a good investment today? Natural gas prices are up over 140% in the last 12 months. Are you being told to invest in this now? Thankfully, when practicing asset allocation for a rate of return, you don't need to know the answer. This is because a portion of a diversified portfolio participates in this return along with income issues that provide cash flow and additional growth issues with liquidity. Don't chase returns. Participate in them with proper diversification. Investments are important for what you need for your objectives. We'll find those with you at PCM Associates. Call us at 800-536-1368 or visit pcmpolano.com.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Shannon Joy Show, final segment of the live show. And yes, get that man, Tom Massie, a food taster, one of the bravest, most courageous men in Washington, D.C. H-Bard 36. I see you on the live chat. Thanks, Shannon and Mr. Massie, 100%. Again, right now it is easy for Democrats to stand up against President Trump because it's D versus R. Very difficult for Republicans to stand up against very powerful administration and Donald Trump, who controls the majority of the Republican Party, the NRCC, and all of the funding mechanisms for Republicans in the House of Representatives and Senate. So this is why you need to support them. Let them know that you're watching. Let them know that you want the truth. Let them know that you want the full release of the Epstein Files and that you are paying attention. It makes a difference. And for those who are standing up and speaking out, and we want to give credit to Marjorie Taylor Greene and Nancy Mace and also Lauren Boebert, 3 women who have come out as well in support of Tom Massie's bill. Give them the support that they need. We don't have to agree with them on everything, but this is the right thing. This is the right thing to do today. You cannot lie to hundreds of victims, especially ones who for the first time are coming out and speaking up. And so I am very, very anxious to see how this all plays out. This could be a bellwether event for the American people, a moment where we move back to truth. So I'm very proud of the Democrats and Republicans. And thank you to Representative Tom Massie. Could you guys tell I was nervous in that interview? It's horrifying for me to watch it back, the ums and the ers and the this and the that. I've been trying to get that guy on this show for almost a year. And as you know, when they call, you pick up the phone, and they reached out to me yesterday, wanted to do the interview, and man, what a blessing. I really hope that Tom Massie is going to be a regular feature on the Shannon Joy Show for times to come. I think that there is a lot of very important work that he needs to do on Capitol Hill, and we can help him do that. So we'll talk about all of this tomorrow. But as you know, you guys have been waiting long enough. Are you guys ready for Mary Talley Bowden? Weekly special every Wednesday, live right here on the Shannon Joy Show network, live on Rumble, live on the Shannon Joy Show Twitter account, live on Facebook and Substack, Spreely TV, Roku TV, the entirety of the SJ network, and also Dr. Mary Talley Bowden's own massive Twitter platform, upwards towards 700,000 followers on her Twitter of course, the Died Suddenly platform as well. Almost 1 million followers on the Died Suddenly platform. We will be reaching millions and millions of eyes and ears every single month with this weekly feature. I've had harebrained ideas, guys, a lot of harebrained ideas. And yes, of course, I thought that Dr. Mary Taylor Bowden needed a platform. We need to hear what she has to say. Again, speaking of truth tellers, people who are standing up, sticking their necks out when no one else will. That has been Dr. Mary Bowden, especially after the election of Donald Trump, the Republicans, and the appointment of Bobby Kennedy Jr., supposedly our guys. Again, it's easy to stand up to the opposite party. It is much harder to stand up to the people who are supposedly on your side. Dr. Mary Taylor Bowden has proven to be consistent, a truth teller, a beacon. She's showing up when it matters. And we've developed a friendship over the past couple years, very close friendship. And so for me, it's an absolute honor. It's an honor to work with her and to help her start her own network, help her gain her voice so that she can speak out independently. No rules, no producers, no network telling her what she can say and what she can't say. That's why we're featuring her here on the Shannon Joy Network. This is the first collaboration that we've done here on the network, and I just feel so blessed. And so we're going to close out the Shannon Joy Show right now. Make sure that you help our sponsors and click on all those links. When we come back after a quick break, we are going to introduce, without further ado, the debut of the Mary Taylor Bowden Show. It is On Call with Dr. Mary Taylor Bowden. Keep it tuned right here. We're going to cross over a little bit, but today in the show, Dr. Kelly Victory is going to be with us as well. Huge thank you to the Wellness Company. You're going to hear from them in the next show. But thank you guys so much for being with us today. We're closing it out here on the Shannon Joy Show. Keep it tuned right here. We're not breaking the stream. We are continuing the live. Coming up in just a moment, the Dr. Mary Taylor Bowden with her debut show. She's going to be answering all your questions and talking about the health news of the day, among other things, on this weekly special every single Wednesday, 1 p.m. Eastern Time, typically to 2:30. We'll be back with Dr. Mary Taylor Bowden after this. Thanks for being with us. Huge thank you to our friends over at Native Path. Guys, get your collagen 45% off right now. It is great for your hair, your nails, your bones. It not only helps you to look great, but it helps you to feel great as well. This has been my experience with, as you guys know, devastatingly handsome Dr. Joy. He's very stubborn. He doesn't listen to me. I try, getting him on the vitamin D and the vitamin C and the regular protocols and all the things that are good for him. He's had the worst joint pain. He's super active, plays a lot of beach volleyball with the kids. He walks every day, is very fit. He eats great, has great discipline, but he was having joint pain, like a tennis elbow. His knees were hurting. And, about a month ago or 2 months ago, he was like, I think I'm just old. I think this is just the way that I'm supposed to feel now every day, where everything hurts. And I'm like, oh my gosh, just please start taking the collagen, you stubborn thing. And I finally convinced him to do it. And he will tell you that his joint pain is almost gone. Like, he feels so much better on the daily collagen. He has been on it for about 2 weeks. He gets upset if we run low, and he's like, oh my gosh, we got to get you more collagen from Native Path. And it's just one of those things. As you get older, I feel like just needs to be worked into your life every single day. And as you guys know, I take my collagen every morning in my coffee. The Native Path collagen is clean. It dissolves perfectly and instantly. It has no flavor whatsoever. So you don't even know that it is in your coffee. My husband actually dumps in a Native Path hydrate and then the collagen in cold water every morning. I don't know how he does that, but anyway, he does. Very easy to take, and the price point is better than any product on the market when you use the Joy URL. So it's getnativepathcollagen.com/joy, getnativepathcollagen.com/joy. I'll pop it into the show notes of the Shannon Joy Show. And right now, 45% off. 45% off. It's an amazing deal. They have 6-jar bundles, 3-jar bundles, but you can really stock up for a year with the 45% off deal. It's amazing just for the Joy audience, and they give that only to this audience. So thank you to Native Path. All right, everyone, it is official, the live debut of On Call with Dr. Mary Talley Bowden, and she is with us. Everything looks good. You know, when anything can go wrong, everything goes wrong, right, Dr. Bowden? The camera, the mic, but you look great. The feed is fantastic, and welcome everyone to the new weekly special. It is On Call with Dr. Mary Talley Bowden every Wednesday, live right here on the SJ Network. And also, we are live on Dr. Bowden's Twitter feed, which is super exciting, along with our new partners over at Died Suddenly. So welcome to all of those new audiences. Now, if you can all bear with us today, we didn't even figure out who's introducing the show, Mary, as we were in the commercial break. I'm like, is she going to intro or am I going to intro? But I think normally it's going to be all you. And we're going to do a crossover every day. We will chat for about 20 minutes or so. And then you're on your own. You're interviewing the guests that you want to interview. You're engaging with the live chat, both on Twitter and on Rumble, and talking about the news that you think is important. So with that being said, this is your show. So I'm going to shut up. Big thank you to the Wellness Company, by the way. You're going to be hearing from them today, a couple products that we're going to be talking about, but they made this happen. And so we so appreciate the team over at the Wellness Company. We couldn't have brought this to you without them. And so make sure that you patronize them and use the products and services, because that helps us keep the lights on here at On Call with Dr. Mary Talley Bowden. But again, I'm talking too much. This is your show, girl. How do you do?
Yeah. Well, it's a huge honor, Shannon. Can you hear me? Huge honor. You know, when all this went down 5 years ago or 4 years ago, I mean, I was a solo practitioner in a quiet practice and my world was upended. But there were a few journalists who gave me a voice, and you were one of them. And so I'm very honored that you have taken me under your wing, because, you know, we're still dealing with censorship. I don't know if you know this, but I was kicked off TikTok a couple days ago. YouTube, YouTube, I'm always on thin ice on YouTube. And if I do an interview with somebody, they're very cautious to put it on YouTube because they can get deplatformed. So, you know, we are making progress, but the censorship is still a big deal. So this is a way to get the voices out there. Like you said, I mean, we could potentially reach millions of people a day with this show. And, you know, one of the issues that I have faced is I get inundated with direct messages on my social media. And it stresses me out because I want to answer all of them, but I couldn't possibly do that and keep my sanity. Because, you know, when people reach out to me for help, I'm just used to, that's just my job, is trying to help them. So I'm looking at this as a way to answer questions that, you know, broadly applicable. Just a reminder, I cannot give personalized medical advice, but I can give you sort of a broad stroke scenario of what I see in my practice. And I want to, you know, I'm continuing to practice medicine because I can keep my finger on the pulse of everything going on. It's very helpful. This morning, I had a patient that, you know, she came to see me only because her primary care doctor would not prescribe her ivermectin. Yet at the same time, the doctor had her hooked on a benzodiazepine and had her hooked on an SSRI that she couldn't get off. And she wouldn't even contemplate getting off of it because she was just terrified of the side effects. So we're still dealing with so much madness in our medical system. And I think this is just a great way to tell y'all what I'm seeing, get this message out, and then also elevate other people's voices, people who, like me 4 years ago, you know, were really struggling, were getting beaten down by some sort of tyrant, and need help getting their voice out. So I am so excited to do this. And it's just awesome to be with you, Shannon.
Absolutely. Well, and you're very courageous. I remember we've talked about the story when I launched my show 12 years ago in a tiny little double wide trailer in a cornfield. It was a 5,000 watt AM radio station, audio only. And I cried every day for a year. Like I drove to that dumb little station, and on the way there had an anxiety attack and cried like every day, because it was just, I felt so overwhelmed by the responsibility of coming in and saying what I had to say about the news of the day. And that eventually abated after a couple of years. I still get nervous and nerves every once in a while, but here you are pushing out now into a massive audience, and that's a lot of pressure. And I just want to ask everyone who's watching, you are a natural. It's because you're genuine, Dr. Mary, and you tell the truth, and you are not afraid of losing things for telling the truth. That's one of the things that makes you very unique. You're independent. You're outside of the two-party political system for the most part. And so this is why people trust you. You have gained the trust of millions upon millions of Americans because of your content, the content of your character, the content of the information that you put out on your Twitter feed, the content of your speeches and the decisions that you have made over the past couple years. That has nothing to do with the lighting or the microphone or how professional it looks or even how professional you are as a broadcaster. And we've been talking about that, content is king. That's what matters. Being genuine, being honest, telling the truth, not being afraid, standing up when no one else is, and proclaiming those truths. That is what's going to set you apart. And so I just want to encourage you that this audience, first and foremost, they are so nice, especially the Rumble chat. Welcome, Mary. You're doing a great job, Mary. This is going to be so amazing. Can't wait to see this show. I mean, they think it's hilarious. When I make mistakes, they think it's hilarious. I've forgotten to turn my mic on before. They call them shumbles. And it's when Shannon stumbles on Rumble and I just mess everything up and press buttons, and it's a thing. But they're very, very accommodating, and you're just going to get better and better and better and better. So let's give her some time to kind of fall into this. But you're going to do great. You're going to do. I am picking up on a bit of a glitch. All right, so Wally, I do not hear you on the live. Not sure if I'm glitching or Mary is glitching. However, we might want to go to a quick commercial break. And when we come back, we are going to thank our sponsors over at the Wellness Company. We're going to be bringing Dr. Kelly Victory in for a great conversation. And so hopefully we'll work out these glitches in just a moment on the Shannon Joy Show. Blackout, brownout, natural disaster, alien invasion, government created disaster, you name it. If you are prepared, then you will not be afraid. And it is only when we are afraid that we are vulnerable to the manipulation and the coercion of this hostile government. And so one of the things that I encourage to this audience and for this audience is to be prepared. Satellite Phone Store has everything you need, from solar panels to generators to Faraday technologies that will protect your devices from a potential EMP attack, and also protect you from EMF radiation from the 5G, the 4G, the 3G, and all of the Gs, right? They have everything you need for communication, so many different satellite phone packages for all of your needs. They have great monthly plans. And if you use the promo code JOY, you will get 10% off your annual fee and a free satellite phone. So go to sat123.com/joy today. That is sat123.com/joy today. Use that promo code JOY for all of your purchases. It's always going to get you that nice, robust 10% off. Nick, are we up on Mary's Twitter? Oh, welcome back, everyone, to On Call with Dr. Mary Talley Bowden. There we go. See, you just got through it. The first glitch in, I don't know what happened. Wally, was it a Rumble thing? Was it a internet speed thing? CJP. Okay. All right, no big deal. CJP Rumble, you guys look good in freeze too. So there we go. Even if we get frozen, we're good. Welcome back, everyone, to On Call with Dr. Mary Talley Bowden. Before we get to Dr. Kelly Victory, oh, she's here too. All right, this is so fun, Dr. Victory. How are you? I've never met you before.
Great.
But I'm super glad you're here.
I'm great. How are you?
Good. So we lost our host, Dr. Mary Talley Bowden, but she will be with us. Please forgive us. This is the very first episode ever of the weekly On Call with Dr. Mary Talley Bowden. And so we are broadcasting right now on about a dozen different platforms, but it's great to meet you. I'm a huge fan, by the way, and I wasn't planning on interviewing you, but welcome.
Well, thank you for having me, and I'm excited to be your first guest on what I'm sure is going to be a very successful ongoing podcast. I know that Dr. Bowden and I had talked about a lot of different topics, so I'm happy to take it anywhere you would like to go.
Well, absolutely. And just so you kind of know what we're doing, Mary and I came up with this harebrained idea. Actually, it's kind of more my harebrained idea, but it's, she needs a voice, she needs a platform, and certainly has it on Twitter. But this idea that she can come every week for an hour and a half and address some of the issues that her audience is bringing to her on a daily basis, broad questions about what's going on politically, what's going on, with the healthcare system in the US. This just gives her an opportunity to do that, build off of this network and push into her own network. And so that was the idea. And it really is an honor that you are one of the very first guests that we have, because you've been a truth teller in so many ways since the dark days of COVID-19 lockdown. So, that's the mission. And I think we're going to be able to bring Mary in just a moment, and she will be interviewing you. But thank you for all you have done over the past couple years.
Well, thank you very much, and I appreciate the platform. There's no question that Twitter is a wonderful social media, but the reality is there's just so much you can relay in a post or a tweet, and that's why I believe that formats like this one are so important, because it allows your viewers to really get a chance to hear a more thoughtful explanation of how you feel on any particular topic. I get people ask me questions, or I try to post something, whether it's on a complex vaccines, or how I feel about a particular candidate, or how I feel about a policy that's going on. And when you start to get the responses from people on Twitter, you realize, oh, this is woefully inadequate. I can't possibly really get people to understand the intricacies of this experience, or how I feel, or why I've come to this particular opinion. And so thank you for having me. I think this will be great for Mary Talley Bowden. It will certainly give her more of an opportunity to explain to people how it is that she has come to the thoughtful decisions she has come to.
Absolutely. And it's a very powerful thing. Sometimes people want to write the script about who you are and why you say the things that you say. And what an amazing opportunity. I feel blessed that I have my own platform to be able to write your own script and tell your own story. And so, that's what we're trying to do here today. Now, I do think that we are ready to bring Dr. Bowden back in to host her own show and conduct her interview with Dr. Victory. So Wally, if you want to bring, absolutely. Wally, if you want to bring, we're just going to thank our sponsors very quickly. So if you want to bring me up, Wally, and then you can work on getting Dr. Victory and Mary settled into their screens, I will take a moment. Okay, so let's just take a moment to say thank you. The reason that we were able to bring this show to you today is because of our friends over at The Wellness Company. And we know that this great company has been front of helping so many Americans for so many years in the dark days of lockdowns, the coercive measures with the jabs, when we weren't getting the truth about treatments for COVID-19. There were people out there who were working to get that information to the American people. And Dr. Peter McCullough was one of those people. He is an amazing regular here on the Shannon Joy Show. Dr. Kelly Victory, another. And so it was this company now that is also providing for the American people so many critical items that they need to take control of their own health. And one of those items, it is iconic at this point. It's the wellness company medical kit. The question here is, what if sore throat and fever that hit you overnight doesn't have to mean missing work the next day or a last minute doctor's appointment, wasting hours at urgent care? No one wants to do that.
Hello.
Oh, great. Just saying, I had no audio. I lost the audio, so I'm glad that you're back. I can hear you.
Great, great. Well, it's so good to see you. I don't know if everybody knows this, but we met at a conference in Spokane, Washington, of all places, far, far away, and probably years ago. I mean, we've been going every year. I
Yeah.
want to put a little plug in for the conference. It's on May 2nd. Sean Needham puts it on every year. Medical Freedom Warriors, and we're going to be there again this year. So excited about that. And for those of you who don't know Dr. Kelly Victory, she is a trauma surgeon, board certified trauma surgeon, emergency room physician. And I have career envy because that was my favorite surgery rotation when I was going through my training. And I do want to talk about that because you have to have a special sort of character to be a trauma surgeon. You have to be bold, you have to be decisive. You don't take orders from a bunch of people. You command the operating room. And I wanted to do it, but I didn't think I was cut out for it. I didn't think I had you have to have physical stamina because you can be in the operating room for hours. And then you are constantly having somebody's life on, hanging on the line. I mean, that is what you do all day, every day at work. You have lives on your hands, and it's thrilling. But I mean, I think the stress must be, very hard on you. So I just have, you have so many other accomplishments, but the fact that you are a trauma surgeon puts you, high above most doctors I know. And then
Well,
I know, yeah, go ahead.
as you say,
Well,
I appreciate that. Go ahead.
Oh, well, so I know that on top of being a trauma surgeon, saving lives all the time, you have public health experience and you have corporate experience. And so I'm curious. Well, first, I want to talk about the fact that when we were in training, our medicine was entirely different, and maybe there were problems, but the problems seem minor compared to what they are today. And when we had strong maverick personalities that were training us. It felt like the military. There was nothing soft about it whatsoever. I don't recall ever having a conversation about DEI or ever talking about transitioning children. So tell us, what do you think? I mean, how was your training and how does it compare to what you're seeing now?
Well, thanks very much for having me, Mary. Lots to unpack there. There's no question that being a trauma and emergency physician is a different career path. You have to be somebody who not only is an adrenaline junkie, but you have to be someone who's comfortable making decisions with well less than the amount of information you'd like to have. Most physicians, have a full patient history before they take a patient to the operating room or do something surgical. You have the luxury, most surgeons have the luxury of having the patient not having eaten since, midnight the night before. The patient's medical history, what medications they're on, what their medical allergies are, everything. For me, 50% of my patients came in, with a hamburger hanging out of their mouth at the time that they had their accident or their whatever happened to them. So, and you frequently don't even have a patient who's awake and alert and able to answer questions. So it is a different type. That said, there was so much my training, and I think I got stellar training. I trained in emergency medicine at a huge level 1 trauma center in North Carolina. And it was a lot like the military. There's a certain body of information that our attendings, that our professors knew we needed to learn in a finite period of time, the number of years you would be there. And therefore, it was required that you worked fundamentally 7 days a week. I remember we got generally 1 day a month off. We're lucky, unless it was busy and unless one of your colleagues, fellow residents, was on vacation or maternity leave or something, in which case you might go 2 or 3 months without having a single day not in the hospital. But what that allowed you to do was see a tremendous number of patients. And that is in contradistinction with what they're doing today. They are coddling these medical residents. They have limits on the number of hours they can work. They have, X number of days they have to have off a week or a month. And the problem is that at the same time that they've cut back, where say you and I may have worked 80 plus hours a week easily, perhaps, up to 100 hours a week, they've now cut that back to, 40 or 45 or 50 hours a week without extending the length of the residency. So they are seeing, on average, probably 50% of the patients that you and I saw. So there's only one way to get really good at treating a gunshot wound to the chest or an appendicitis or whatever it is, and that's to do a lot of them. And you do it in the controlled setting of the residency. If you have limited the hours by 50%, then frankly, in reality, the length of the residency should increase by twice. Rather than 4 or 5 years, it should be 8 to 10 years, because that's how long it would take you to see that same number of patients. And this doesn't even get into what you suggested about DEI. The idea that there are people in these residency programs that couldn't, of their own volition, actually make it through medical school. I didn't get a tutor. I didn't get somebody to allow me. I didn't get to retake the exam if I failed it. I didn't get that. Now those are opportunities that are given to these people till they get through. So I do worry that the caliber of people coming out of medical school and the caliber of the physicians who are now going into practice on their own out of residency is nowhere near what it was back when you and I were doing it.
Well, and I noticed in North Carolina where you trained, they're now allowing foreign trained
Yes.
graduates just swoop right in. I mean, that's alarming, right? I mean,
yes, they're
did
allowing,
you,
to be clear, they've passed a law that is allowing foreign medical graduates to come in and practice, get a North Carolina medical license, and to practice under a different set of guidelines with different requirements than those people who actually trained in the United States. So, listen, I have nothing against, immigrant physicians coming and practicing in this country. We've done that for decades. But I do have an issue with someone practicing side by side with me or in my hospital who has substandard training and substandard, requirements, so that they may not have had, passed the same tests I passed or passed the same, level of competency that is required of an American trained physician. This is very, very short-sighted, and it's going to result 100% going to result in a degradation of the quality of care.
Yeah, I agree. It's very concerning, and hopefully the new administration has some ideas on how to improve things, because it's a slippery slope into really well, hey, we know AI. We don't need doctors anymore, right? Because the AI. But I don't know how AI is going to treat a gunshot wound to the chest. So
yeah, I have big.
Yeah.
So I was going to say, I have huge concerns about AI. I'm probably, I seem to be outnumbered by my colleagues, but I do find it, for lack of a better word, creepy. I also think you have to remember, AI didn't just fall out of the sky. It is still created. The algorithms are still created by human beings, and those human beings have biases. And if that person who's creating the AI, who's creating the platform for it, I'm not a technology guru, but it didn't just sort of come from God like manna from heaven. It is created by people. And if, for example, those individuals have a bias towards pharmaceuticals, if they have a bias towards surgical intervention, if they have a bias towards homeopathic, whatever their biases are going to impact that AI algorithm. There's no way around it. So I do have concern about it. Nothing will replace the human brain, in my estimation. I certainly hope it doesn't, or that people aren't led to believe that it can. The nuances of medicine, the nuances of healthcare, there's a reason we call it the practice of medicine, and nothing will replace the laying on of hands.
Yeah, I agree. I use AI for if I'm writing something, I need a quick edit, but I don't go to AI. I don't put full faith in AI when I'm trying to learn new information. I always double check it. Mm-hmm. And I'm constantly getting in fights with Grok, and it's why am I fighting with a machine? But so I know you had this extensive clinical experience. What led you into corporate medicine? Or I know you were CEO of a company and you have public health experience. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, during my tenure as an emergency and trauma specialist, I developed an interest in mass casualty. It occurred to me very early in my career that we were very good at treating ones and twos. You had a car accident where you have 2 or maybe 3 victims. You have 2 people, gunshot wounds. We were good at that. But it occurred to me, what are we going to do? How are we going to manage if it's 30 or 40 or more? Mass casualty. So I took sort of a circuitous route to get some additional training in the medical management of mass casualties and became a student of disasters, started really studying and learning. When you look at big disasters, there's a way to sort of predict how, who does well and who doesn't, and how we manage those. And I subsequently ended up moving more towards public health because I was looking at how do we manage large populations of people. We're good at, again, managing diabetes in one individual. How do you do population health management? And I became the chief medical officer of a company that was doing on-site medical care for Fortune 100 and Fortune 500 companies. So all of a sudden, companies like Continental Airlines and Nissan Automotive, Sprint, big companies. So all of a sudden, I was in the position to be with a patient population that was in the hundreds of thousands, because we were treating not only all of these employees, but also their families. And we were building actual, bricks and mortar clinics at the work site, pharmacies, fitness, and doing really aggressive management of disease processes. It's when it became very clear to me that we had primarily a disease care system in this country rather than a health care system. And I saw that, how many things we weren't managing well. We were really, our system is really very much a reactive one. We wait until people get into trouble and then we intervene. We wait until they develop diabetes, develop hypertension, and then we intervene rather than. So it's very funny to come full circle. I ended up going to Harvard to the School of Public Health, to a combined program with the School of Public Health at Harvard and the Kennedy School of Government to train what they call meta leaders for times of crisis. And I spent quite a bit of time doing that. And now we come full circle to MAHA, where all of a sudden they're talking about, we've got a great idea. Let's be proactive and work on people's health. I'm saying, yes, that's what we were doing at my previous company back in 2000, 25 years ago. That's exactly what we were doing with huge part of the population, doing it via, as I said, companies that were self-insured and wanted to provide these services for their employees. So I'm a big fan of much of what MAHA is doing, but it's not exactly a novel concept.
Well, so I'm very curious. You went to Harvard and you got a master's in public health from Harvard.
No,
And
no,
they
no,
didn't-
no,
they
I
didn't-
no, wait. No, I did not. No, I went to a postgraduate. I did postgraduate training at the School of Public Health. It was called the NPLI, National Preparedness Leadership Institute. It's a very, at the time, was a kind of rarefied air. It was out of a grant that was formed after 9/11 to form meta leaders. And I was one of a small group of people who went through that program, but I don't have a master's from Harvard.
Well, you say Harvard and you say public health, and then I wonder, like, why are you on our side? Why are you not hanging out with Peter Hotez? So what happened?
No.
What happened to what? How did you make that?
You are
the
exactly
right call.
You are exactly right. Most people, Mary, in public health have really lost their way. It is the mandate of public health to consider not just the impact of any particular mitigation scheme, whether it's a vaccination program or a lockdown or whatever it is. We are supposed to consider the impact of that not just on the individual, but on the entire population. Which means if you look at, for example, what happened during COVID, you would hear public health people who do have masters in public health, like Peter Hotez, saying things that are idiotic, like if we can just save one life, if we can just save one child. No, I'm sorry. That is not the job of public health. Public health is required to take a look at and consider the impact on everyone. And that doesn't just mean physical health. It means mental health, financial health, spiritual health. And they dropped the ball massively during COVID. They destroyed the population. There's no such thing as, protecting, quarantining the many to protect the few. You quarantine the few to protect the many. They have lost these public health, quote, experts, need to go back to be mediated. They have lost their way. And I am an outlier. I'm sort of persona non grata without question at Harvard. They want nothing to do with me. They would love to sort of completely eschew their relationship with me because I did not fall in line at all. I've been a vocal opponent of much of what they've said. I've been very, very critical of what they've done. But unfortunately, so many people in public health have lost their way. They've lost their mandate, and they really need to go back to school.
Yeah, one thing you say that I love is healthcare is not a team sport, right? That we don't
Right.
treat somebody else to treat the other person. We have to treat people as individuals. And
Yeah.
but I'm curious with the pandemic, like, did you get it from the very start? From what I recall, you did. You never
Oh,
caved to all
no.
the sickness. Is that right?
No, I was truly one of the first people. It was the end of January 2020, the very when I became aware that there was a quote novel upper respiratory virus, a novel coronavirus. Very, very early on, I smelled. I'm not a geneticist, but I do understand how to read genetic coding. And it was very clear from the beginning, second week of February, that this was a man-made lab manipulated virus. There was no question about it. It clearly, did not come out of the wet lab. Furthermore, the response that we were getting right out of the box from public health, quote, experts was absolutely bizarre and clearly indicative that there was something else going on. The idea or suggesting, for example, face masks for a respiratory virus. I'm saying, you got to be kidding. I mean, did you not go to virology class? Everybody knows that face masks do virtually nothing to stop the spread of a respiratory virus. We knew within the first weeks that children were at such a de minimis risk from this virus as to be fundamentally zero. So the idea that they were talking about, protecting children, clearly a red flag. Then they started talking about where it became, and I was out posting all this stuff. I got kicked off Twitter. My first Twitter timeout was in the first week of February of 2020 for saying that this was a man-made virus, and I got put in timeout first for a day, and then for a week, and then for a month. It was very clear. Furthermore, you and I both know that prior to COVID, debate amongst physicians, amongst scientists, robust, vigorous, respectful, but robust debate was a cornerstone of medicine. It's what you and I grew up on. Every people might not know this. We had, surgeons have a monthly meeting in the hospital called M&M, Morbidity and Mortality, where we go behind closed doors with all of our colleagues. You review cases that didn't go well, and you duke it out. You literally sort of, argue it out. Why did you do this? Why didn't you do that? Did you consider this? What about that? That's how we trained, and that was a cornerstone of medicine. All of the sudden, I'm getting censored on social media. People are, saying I am getting threatened by my medical boards, saying you can't say that, not for things I did, by the way, with patients, but for things that I said on the radio or on television, on media. So I had to defend myself 7 times to the medical boards where I hold medical licenses during the early years of the pandemic, again, having nothing to do with something I did with a patient, having only to do with the opinions I was stating. So I knew early on this was, and decided, I follow the military adage, which is, you always take the most flack when you are directly over the target. And I knew that clearly, I was correct. They weren't trying to censor me because I was wrong. They were trying to censor me because I was right.
Exactly. I can relate completely. And you got in a little trouble with the medical board, right?
I did. Oh, I did. I had, as I said, 7 different times to defend myself. It's just, I think, again, something that your listeners should understand is that medicine is one of the only times, in really in our judicial system, as it were, where you are not even allowed to necessarily know your accuser. People can anonymously submit a complaint against you. Had nothing to do, in all 7 of my cases, nothing to do with treatment of a patient. It was somebody who heard me on the radio or who read a post that I made and then submits a complaint to the medical board saying Dr. Victory should lose her medical license because she said blank. And you, as a physician, I've got a very busy full-time job. You have 30 days to mount a response, to come to your own defense, to provide all of the required documents and everything. It's absolutely debilitating. It's financially overwhelming. It's emotionally exhausting. And each time I was successful, but nobody gives you that time back. Nobody pays you back for the amount of, income that you lost or the amount that you spent on legal fees. It is absolutely, and so really it is a way to control people, because believe me, my colleagues, I'm sure many of them saw what was happening and said, well, God, I don't want that to happen to me. So I'll just, stay in my lane, keep my mouth shut, toe the line, repeat the subscribed narrative, vaccines are safe and effective. Get yours today. And I wasn't willing to do it. Right or wrong, I've been a heat-seeking missile my entire career. And I said from the beginning, they may take me down, but I will end up on the right side of history. I know I'm right. I am standing my ground. And you and I both have been independent of what harms the medical board may still be doing. You and I know there's no question in anybody's mind that we are on the right side of history, and we always were.
Amen. Yeah, I guess you've settled all your complaints at this point, I hope.
Yes.
Everything.
Yes, I did. I did.
Yeah.
Yes.
What state was it? All in one state, or was it more than one state?
No, Ohio and Colorado.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's
Ohio and Colorado.
Well, we have to go to a quick break. When we come back, look at your phone, because I'm going to text you some breaking news, and we're going to talk about that when we come back. Okay? We'll see you in a minute.
All right, everyone. After just like one or two slight glitches, I think that was just an amazing first debut segment of On Call with Dr. Mary Talley Bowden. I'm lurking in the shadows. So, obviously Mary is running this show. It's her show. Amazing interview with Dr. Kelly Victory. In fact, I see you, CJP Rumble, saying, Shannon, what a phenomenal forum that has been provided to Dr. Mary Talley Bowden. I hope Kelly can join us often. And you guys are going to see some of the biggest names in the medical freedom movement, the truth tellers who are courageous enough to stand up, even when it's against people who might be on their side. This is super exciting. I want to thank very quickly our friends over at the Wellness Company. This program would not be presented to you without their amazing support. They have come on as a long-term supporter and sponsor of On Call with Dr. Mary Talley Bowden. By the way, I'll be joining Mary every day or every Wednesday at the beginning of the show to chat about the political health news of the day. But without the Wellness Company, we couldn't bring this to you. So huge thank you to them. And I want to talk to you guys today about the iconic Wellness Company emergency medical kits. So what if you woke up with a sore throat, and that doesn't mean that you have to miss work or beg for a last-minute doctor's appointment, waste hours at the urgent care? What if you could just walk to your cabinet, open your medical emergency kit from the Wellness Company, and match your symptoms to the doctor-recommended guide? You can start treatment immediately. This is not a first aid kit, guys. It is a mini urgent care right in your home. So inside, you're going to find real prescriptions to treat over 39 conditions like COVID, strep throat, pneumonia, urinary tract infections, and more. No waiting rooms, no pharmacy lines, just the right medicine when you need it. Every home should have one, and we have one at the Joy Family Household. Ordering is super simple. At checkout, just complete a short intake form, and a licensed doctor will review and fill your prescriptions. Your kit will arrive in about a week. Be prepared and save yourself time and money. The medical emergency kit puts urgent care into your hands. Don't let illness catch you off guard. Order your kit right now by heading over to Mary's page at twc.health/Mary. That's twc/health.Mary. When you use the promo code MARY at checkout, you'll save up to $30 off and free shipping. And you can use that anywhere. So help support On Call with Dr. Mary Talley Bowden. Help us to continue to bring this important program to you every single week by using her promo code, capital MARY, over at twc.health/Mary. The kits are available, as you know, to U.S. residents only. Okay, there's breaking news, guys. So we're going to take one more quick commercial break. We're going to go back to Dr. Mary, and very exciting news. So keep it tuned right here. We'll be back in a minute. Huge thank you to our friends over at Colonial Metals Group. Again, when I say it's super easy, super easy. The staff is amazing. In fact, I just did my allocation with my representative over at Colonial Metals Group over the weekend. We allocated, I have a gold and silver backed IRA through Colonial Metals Group. And I learned so much. There are so many different ways for you to back your investments with physical gold and silver. But I mean, literally, like when you have the gold backed IRA, you pick whether you want the bars or the coins. Like there are a lot of different mixes. You can do 70-30 gold to silver, 100% gold, 100% silver, 50-50. The mix is, based on whatever you feel comfortable with. And then literally that order, like that physical gold and silver is sent, Colonial Metals Group procures it, and it is sent to a depository. My depository is in Delaware, and it sits there. It is not paper gold. It is not paper silver. This is the real deal. And it gives you the benefits of the IRA and the tax benefits that you can receive from an IRA without having to be connected to or linked to Wall Street or the stock market or even the federal government, right? Because a lot of people's pensions and IRAs and 401ks are invested in some of these institutions that many people rightly see are crumbling. This pulls you out. You're going analog completely. And I trust the folks over at Colonial Metals Group. So colonialmetalsgroup.com/joy is the URL. Please tell them that Shannon Joy sent you, because that's how they know that you came from this show, and they're just great. So thank you to Colonial. Again, always learning so much.
We're back. So,
all right.
Today, because Massie had a press conference about Epstein. And then as we were in conversation, I found out that Florida Surgeon General, Dr. Joseph Ladapo, has announced that Florida is moving to end all vaccine mandates. Hallelujah. I mean, that just makes common sense. Medical mandates are fundamentally wrong. And I'm ashamed of myself that I didn't really realize that until COVID woke me up. But Dr. Victory, I'd love to hear your take on this.
Well, I think particularly when it comes to vaccines, this is really problematic. The reality is that many of these vaccines do not prevent people from actually contracting the illness, and they don't prevent you from spreading it to others. That was certainly the case with COVID. And therefore, there is no justification on any, there's simply no way that you can force somebody to participate in this. I am really, really happy to see that Dr. Ladapo extended this. This is because, as you said, this is for COVID. We thanks that people have
blackout brownout, natural disaster, alien invasion, government created disaster, you name it. If you are prepared, then you will not be afraid. And it is only when we are afraid that we are vulnerable to the manipulation and the coercion of this hostile government. And so one of the things that I encourage to this audience and for this audience is to be prepared. Satellite Phone Store has everything you need, from solar panels to generators to Faraday technologies that will protect your devices from a potential EMP attack, and also protect you from EMF radiation from the 5G, the 4G, the 3G, and all of the Gs, right? They have everything you need for communication, so many different satellite phone packages for all of your needs. They have great monthly plans. And if you use the promo code JOY, you will get 10% off your annual fee and a free satellite phone. So go to sat123.com/joy today. That is sat123.com/joy today. Use that promo code JOY for all of your purchases. It's always going to get you that nice, robust 10% off.
This is Don Polano with PCM Associates. There's a saying that says a broken clock shows the correct time twice a day. This is not how you want to invest your long-term funds by being right for a short period of time. The Argentina market was the best performing market in 2024, up 117%. Does this make it a good investment today? Natural gas prices are up over 140% in the last 12 months. Are you being told to invest in this now? Thankfully, when practicing asset allocation for a rate of return, you don't need to know the answer. This is because a portion of a diversified portfolio participates in this return, along with income issues that provide cash flow and additional growth issues with liquidity. Don't chase returns. Participate in them with proper diversification. Investments are important for what you need for your objectives. We'll find those with you at PCM Associates. Call us at 800-536-1368 or visit pcmpolano.com.
Oh, we're back. I don't know
Awesome.
where I
There we
lost
go.
you. I'm so sorry. It's been a
Well, I was talking about vaccines and Dr. Latipo's decision to remove all vaccine mandates. I think it's critically important. I was saying that although you wouldn't know it, medicine actually has a code of medical ethics with 4 pillars. The first of those pillars is autonomy, the idea that patients have a right to make decisions about what they do and do not want to do with their own bodies. A core component of autonomy is the idea of informed consent. Patients have a right to know, what are the pluses? What are the minuses? What if I don't do anything at all? What are the alternatives? And none of that was given to them during COVID. But I think that Dr. Latipo is correct to extend this to all vaccines, particularly given that vaccines, many of them, don't stop you from contracting the illness, whatever it is. They don't stop you from spreading it to others. And the side effects are not insignificant. People have a right to make a decision about what they want to do with their own bodies. We can't force somebody to have surgery. We can't force them to stop smoking. We can't force somebody to participate in an exercise program. And you shouldn't be able to force them to take a vaccine.
Do you think we could do this on a national level? And if so, how do we do it?
I think it will likely have to go state by state, frankly. I think it would be helpful if the CDC, which again is not a regulatory body, it is an advisory body, but it would go a long ways if the CDC would say that they agree with making vaccination a non-mandatory thing, that they would make it an issue of personal choice. I think that would help a lot because the states tend to fall in line with what the CDC recommends. But I do think it's going to have to be a state by state issue. And frankly, Mary, this may end up impacting where people choose to live. Look, people make choices about what state to live in based on the level of taxation and that, what's the state tax rate, real estate prices, the quality of the schools. I can see people making a decision about where they want to live based on whether or not they would be mandated to participate in a medical procedure with which they do not agree.
Well, yeah, you make a good point. But, Texas, which is seemingly freedom loving, the red state of Texas, I mean, we were the heartbeat of tyranny during COVID. I mean, mandates started in Texas. And this morning, I got a call from a patient. I had written her an exemption for a flu shot, of course, at a hospital. And they are refusing to acknowledge a medical exemption for a flu shot. They will not accept it. And that's in Texas. We really, you know what we need? We need a surgeon general to come out and say, to set everybody straight. And where is our surgeon general? What happened? Do you have any idea why? Does it normally take this long? What's going on?
No, and I don't have any particular specific insight. The nominated Surgeon General is Dr. Casey Means, who I think many people know dropped out of her ENT residency, didn't finish her residency, doesn't have a medical license, and has never practiced medicine. So there are lots of issues with regard to that. She was nominated by the president and Robert Kennedy, Secretary of HHS, on May 8th, and has fundamentally been radio silent since then. She has not had a post on social media. She's not made any public appearances. So I really don't know the status of it. I am unaware of a date that is being set for her confirmation hearing. I am told by Secretary Kennedy, with whom I speak not infrequently, that she is on the path to be confirmed, that they do intend for her to go forward, but it hasn't happened yet. And the reason I think this is important, and I'll go on the record saying this, look, the Surgeon General is not a policymaker. It's a position that, in my estimation, has been wasted for decades, tragically so. I'm dating myself, but for many, many people my age, the last Surgeon General they could even name was C. Everett Koop, decades and decades ago. We went through one of the worst public health crises of our nation's history and the world's history with COVID, and there wasn't a single address by the last two surgeons general. Okay, this is a problem. We have a position set aside, a cabinet level position for the people's doctor. And I think what that position demands is someone who is articulate, credible, measured, sensible, who can speak to the American people in times of non-crisis about common things, whatever the issues are of the day, whether it's obesity, smoking, prostate health, skincare, whatever it is, so that when the crisis happens, people naturally turn to you because they are used to hearing from you. They are used to that calm, sensible voice. You need someone who understands how to lead in times of crises. And unfortunately, I don't think we have used that position in many, many decades now for someone. And I think the country deserves to have a Surgeon General who is articulate, as I said, who is calm, reasonable, scientifically based, and can speak to their concerns.
Well, and now more than ever, I mean, we have destroyed trust in our public health system. And I don't think that they deserve trust. So, I mean, but if we have a Surgeon General there who's just going to spout out whatever the government tells them to spout out, whatever big pharma tells them to spout out, that's going to do nothing for, I think the biggest problem we have at this point is trust. And that's what I hear from my patients. I mean, I have patients that are terrified to go to the hospital. I mean, that's craziness. We're in
No,
America.
yeah, I'm terrified to go to the hospital too, so I get it. It's nobody's. You know, you are aware, and I think I don't mind talking about it. That I was being considered for Surgeon General. I spoke at great length with Robert Kennedy and his staff and the Trump transition team about this. I was fully vetted for it, and unfortunately, was not ultimately chosen. I will always be grateful and humbled to have been considered for that position. But one of the things that I told Secretary Kennedy is that were I chosen to be Surgeon General, I would have a weekly address to the American people. 3 minutes. 5 minutes, a weekly address on some simple topic, the importance of vitamin D, as I said, prostate health, whatever it was, simple, common things, so that I would hopefully redevelop that trust, that faith, be that calm voice that people turn to, because people don't respect you because you demand it. They respect you because you have earned it, because you have been, a rock for them. You've been there in times of non-crisis. That's why they turn to you when the crisis hits. And that's something, unfortunately, that has never been done. As I said, it's been a wasted position. I am sorry that I wasn't their nominee. I would certainly have really appreciated the opportunity. And I'm hopeful that if Dr. Casey Means ends up being confirmed, that she will actually rise to the occasion and not just be a voice repeating the required narrative of whatever it is.
Yeah, it's a big job. It's like I said, it's just super important. You really had my vote for it. I was very disappointed when that did not pan out. Maybe 2028, and I'm hoping hopefully we can keep the Republicans in power. You're about to say something. What?
Well, I was going to say, and it really circles back to how we started the conversation, is that you have to remember the Surgeon General is not just the physician for the people. It also sort of is the de facto leader for the entire medical community. And it's hard to garner the respect of your fellow physicians if you haven't done the basics, like completed a residency, actually worked as a practicing physician, if you don't have a medical license, if you haven't been in the position that you and I have been in so many times in our career, where you are holding a life in your hands, you are making decisions, you are having to do and explain to a patient or that patient's family what's best, what their alternatives are, what you would do if you were in that position yourself, whatever it is. So you don't garner respect by simply getting a title. You have to earn it. And so I really am hoping that the people who get put in positions of authority in our different agencies, whether it's CDC, FDA, NIH, whatever it is, are people who can, have the respect of their fellow physicians and fellow scientists. We just saw a massive shakeup at the CDC. They not only, with Susan Menares, the 1 month long director of the CDC, not only was she removed, but there was fallout of multiple other people leaving in her wake. I think it was good riddance, frankly, because I think they were people who were not aligned with MAHA, not aligned with Robert Kennedy's agenda, and not aligned with President Trump's agenda. They were people who were captured by Big Pharma. We can't afford that. That is so divisive, and it further undermines the credibility of these agencies and the trust, as you said, that the American people have in public health.
Very well said. And we are unfortunately running out of time. And I really appreciate your patience with all the technological problems, but loved connecting with you again. Can't wait to see you May 2nd in Spokane, Washington.
Yes.
We'll have a medical freedom conference. It's an annual event. It's a lot of fun. I encourage everybody to go. And we will have you back soon and continue the conversation. So thank you so much, Dr. Victory, for joining us.
Well, thank you for having me as your first, your inaugural guest on your podcast. Congratulations. Don't worry about the technology glitches. It happens all the time. People are used to it. And I'm sure it'll get worked out as you move forward. So thanks for having me.
Thank you.
All right, everyone, and I take full responsibility for those technological glitches. It's all my fault, but Dr. Mary Bowden, great job. How do you feel?
It's good. It was a trial by fire. It was great.
We just threw Dr. Mary Telly Bowden right into the deep end without any swimmies, without anything at all. No, but you did a fantastic job. And really, the only issues today were technical, right? We had some Wi-Fi issues and some glitching. But Wally, thank you so much. You did a phenomenal job. We've thrown Wally in to the deep end as well, by the way. I've launched a lot of new things, but everybody on the live chat is blaming me. So you're good, right? Like, you're fantastic.
Well, good.
And they have a lot to say to you. Can I just let you know what the live chat is saying right now so that you can end? I thought this was phenomenal. The content was amazing. I was riveted the entire time. Dr. Kelly Victory is brilliant. We have Joe Latipo with his amazing announcements like, OMG, this is good. This is really good. And people were dialed in the entire time. CJP Rumble said there is something about the fantastic job that Mary is doing. So he was like playing on, there's something about Mary, but he just thinks it's great. Thank you so much, ladies. Much love. You did a fantastic job, Mary, amidst Shannon's shumbles. Always a professional, MTV. Everyone just loves it. They just love it. So congratulations. Nerve-wracking, but you did a great job. Any final words before we let everyone go?
No, I'm excited. It's only going to get better. But thank you, Shannon, for making this possible.
Absolutely. And thank you to the Wellness Company, by the way. Again, as I mentioned, wouldn't be here without their generous and amazing sponsorship. And I'm just going to do a quick closeout, and then we'll go back to Mary so she can close out her own show. But let's talk about the Ultimate Spike Detox. So if you're still feeling not so great after COVID or after being vaccinated with COVID shots, you're not alone. And new research is backing it up. In a groundbreaking study, risk stratification for future cardiac arrest after the jab, Dr. Peter McCullough highlights an alarming rise in sudden cardiac events among young and previously healthy individuals. It's tragic. His study found that tiny hidden patches of heart inflammation, often missed by doctors, could silently be building up, leading to sudden heart attacks during exercise and sleep. And we've seen this. I've seen this in my own life with friends and family. This is why Wellness Company has created the 3-in-1 Ultimate Spike Detox. It's crafted with 100% natural ingredients, specifically designed to help your body clear harmful spike proteins, reduce inflammation, and support your heart health. So don't wait until the symptoms strike. Experience the only formula approved and used by our friend, Dr. Peter McCullough, a top freedom-fighting doctor who we know risked it all. So I want you guys to head to twc.health/Mary. That's twc.health/Mary. Use the promo code MARY. You'll get 10% off your order plus free shipping. That's 10% off plus free shipping. And let's bring it back to Dr. Mary Bowden as we close out a little bit late, 4 minutes late, but that's okay. Just want to let her close out her own show because, well, it's her show. So yeah, if you want to bring.
All right. Well, thanks y'all so much for joining. And next week we'll set aside some time for questions. So if you join in and